Welcome to our monday.com platform demo, a great entry into the world of monday.com. Today we'll walk you through the most important features available in the platform. After watching this demo, we recommend taking the Building Workflows in monday.com course in the Academy to learn how to build your own workflow in monday.com. Let's begin by defining what monday.com really is. Monday.com is a work OS, or a work operating system, that powers companies and teams to manage their entire businesses from one platform. Monday.com offers a range of products to suit your needs. This platform demo will cover what's available when you purchase the monday.com Work Management product, which is our customizable platform for managing any use case in any industry. We also offer additional, more specific products, including Monday Sales CRM and Monday Dev, which are sets of pre-built boards and dashboards along with unique features for these use cases. For today, we'll be walking through our Work Management product, which is the core platform. Now let's hop right into my monday.com account to take a closer look at what's available in the platform. When you first log into your account, you'll be brought to a homepage that looks like this. You could also find it at any time in the top left corner of your page by clicking on the Work Management logo up here. Then on the left side panel is where we'll navigate throughout your account. So let's start by understanding what boards are. Boards are where you manage your workflows and are the heart and soul of the platform. For today's demo and use case, I want to use monday.com so my team can manage a simple project workflow, which will be opening up our new bakery business. So first, let's go ahead and create my project board. When it comes to adding a new board, there are a few ways that we can go about this. First, we have the option to add a new board, which allows you to start from scratch completely. You could also then choose a board from your template or from the template center, which is a great place to start if you want a basic framework to get you off the ground. And lastly, you could actually create a board by importing your data from a number of different external platforms that we offer, as you can see here. So for today, we'll create a new board so that I could show you around the building blocks you would use to build a board. When creating a board, we actually have 3 different options for our board types: main, private, and shareable. So a main board is open and accessible to all team members on your account. A private board is private to you and will only be visible to specific team members that you choose to subscribe the board to. And lastly, we have our shareable boards, which act like private boards for team members in the account, meaning they must be subscribed to see them. However, guests like contractors or freelancers who are outside of your organization can also be invited to them. So guests will only see the shareable boards that they're invited to and won't see anything else inside the account. So for today, we're going to create a main board, and I'm going to name that board Brooklyn Bakery. So first, let's start with items or rows in the board. Items will represent whatever you are managing in your workflow, whether it's a task, client, property, or anything else. For today's use case, we're looking at a project workflow of opening our Brooklyn Bakery, and each item will represent a task in the project. But before we do that and customize our items, let's talk about groups. Whenever we add a board from scratch, there will be 2 groups by default. Groups help to organize and categorize the items on your board. Depending on your workflow, they might represent periods of time like weeks or months, phases of a project, locations, or any other way of grouping your items together. So since our project is a short project, which spans just a matter of weeks, I'll rename the groups to week 1 and week 2 and then add another group called later. So week 1, week 2, and add a new group called later for all of our overdue tasks. Now let's edit the items within each group to represent our tasks for this project. So for week 1, I'll add some tasks, including hiring employees, creating the menu, and ordering ingredients. And for week 2, we'll need to train the managers, manage finances, and finally open up the bakery. Awesome. So many times tasks or projects can't be explained in just one sentence, and they may need to be broken down into smaller parts. That's where sub-items come in. These give you the ability to add an additional level of hierarchy and organization to your workflow. So you could open up a sub-item by just clicking on this drop-down menu here, and then breaking up that task into smaller subtasks. So for example, for hiring employees, maybe we'll have to interview candidates and send follow-up emails. Great, you could then collapse that and actually just see the little sub-items from this number over here to know that you have some tasks under this other bigger task. Now that we understand the board hierarchy, let's take a look at the columns, which allow you to track different data types against each item in the board. So when building your board, think about what sort of data you want to track and then add relevant columns to match that. So we'll start by looking at the default columns, which will appear when you add a board from scratch. So firstly, we have the people column, which is useful for assigning responsibilities and creating accountability within your team. Every time I assign someone to a task, they'll get a notification in their notification bell up here and be directed right here into the item. I'll just go ahead and assign some of my team members who will be responsible for each of these tasks of our bakery project. Next, we have the status column that provides you with a list of customizable colored labels. Its most traditional use is to show the status of items in a board, but it can be used to show priority or categorize items in any other way. Here, we'll keep the status column in its traditional use so the team can easily see the status of each task at a glance. Scratch. Next, we have the date column, which allows you to assign a date to each item. Here, we'll use it to assign a due date for each task, and we'll edit the name of the column to reflect that. So I'm going to go ahead and rename this due date. And then I'm going to assign each task with their due date. By the way, some columns have specific settings associated with them, which you can find by clicking on the three-dot button of any column. So for example, the date column has the deadline mode setting, which allows you to add more visual way to see how long is left until our deadline, or whether a task was completed on time or after the due date. Now, I want to add a few more columns to our board right over here by hovering over the plus button. I'll go ahead and actually add the numbers column, which will be used to display any kind of numerical data and can be customized to represent anything you need. In our case, it'll be used to display the budget of our project broken down by tasks. So I'm going to go ahead and assign that budget now. Once you actually add the budget for each item, you can also customize the currency in the column summary here by clicking on the bottom cell and choosing the label that you would like to represent that number. Now I'm going to go ahead and add the timeline column, which allows us to assign a start and end date to each of our tasks. This will come back into play later on in the demo when we'll be showing you how to bring the timeline to life. And finally, I want to add one more status column onto the board, which will indicate the priority for each task. So by clicking into the labels here, you can edit the name and the color to show the kind of information that you need to see. I'm going to edit the labels and add 3 different labels, high, medium, and low, to represent the priority of each task. So keep in mind that we offer over 30 different column types, which can be found in the column center, and I highly recommend checking out all of the options from there. So you would just click on that plus button, go to more columns, and then see all the different column types. All right, now let's look at another important value of working in the board, communication. Communicating as a team about the tasks in context is super important. On each item, you'll see a little speech bubble right over here. This is what we call the update section. With this section, you can replace email and communicate about tasks in the item in the same place as they're managed and easily find that conversation later on. So we could actually write an update here and easily mention one of our teammates just by adding the @ label similar to social media. And I'm going to go ahead and actually tag Rachel Green in this post, asking if everything is going according to plan. I could actually also, in this same post, just go ahead and edit the urgency with bold or bullet points or adding up a file, whatever you find necessary. So we could just go ahead and say, please clarify the following. Awesome, I'm gonna go ahead and update her, and she's actually gonna be notified once this update is posted right up here in her bell icon. Great. So now that we have this update, you could actually go ahead and like that in the same social media type way, or even reply into that same message with a response to whoever had reached out to you. So in this case, I'm just going to re-clarify and tag Rachel Green with one more thing that I need her to check up on, and she could always respond in a reply. Awesome. So anytime you see a red bubble up here, you'll know that you have a new notification to check out. You can view all of your notifications or filter them by selecting a tab right here on top. Or you can even filter by the person who may have actually tagged you or whatever it may have been. And lastly, you could use the search function to search for a specific notification that you know you had in the past so that it'll easily pop up right here rather than scrolling through all of your different notifications. And besides being notified from the bell icon, you can also see your update feed by clicking into your inbox right up here. So from your inbox, you'll receive updates that directly mention you or your team, updates posted on boards you're invited to even if you weren't mentioned or assigned to a task, and updates on items you own or are subscribed to even if you weren't mentioned. So you can actually easily filter through these updates by board right over here, or you can specifically focus on the updates that you were mentioned in by hovering over this tab and clicking into it. And then, once you've actually read all of your updates, you could just click the check mark so that it is out of your inbox. It'll clear that, and you could even mark all of your updates as read just all at once. Next, I want to introduce you to our WorkDocs, a central place for you and your team to collaborate, brainstorm, plan, and execute. So I already have a brainstorming WorkDoc set up, but let's show you how to create a new one as well. So you would just go into here, click on the plus button, and add a new doc, similar to how we added a board. In my menu brainstorming doc, I've already written out some potential ideas for a menu. What is cool is that I could just mention a team member here and ask for their input before moving on directly from this doc. I could actually also embed boards, widgets, images, and more directly into the WorkDoc itself. So you could see all these options by clicking into the plus add button up here. So let's say, for example, I actually want to embed my Brooklyn Bakery board so that I don't have to move back and forth between the two. I'm just going to go ahead and click on board to be embedded and then find my Brooklyn Bakery board. You could also search it to make sure that it comes up with the correct option. Awesome. So let's go back into my Brooklyn Bakery board. So besides using the board as a table, we can use a range of different board views to visualize the information in this board in different ways. So you could actually add a board view by clicking on this little plus icon up here and looking through the various views that we offer in the View Center. Once you've selected a view, this would save that as a tab up here as a different view. So for now, let's start off by adding a timeline view, which is available in all plans except the basic plan. The timeline view is going to let us see the span of dates allotted to all of our work and tasks in a more visual way and make it super easy to understand how long the whole project will take to complete. Each view has its own settings that can be found in the top right corner of that view window. So for example, here in the timeline, we can go into our settings to customize that we'd like the colors to represent and how we want to group those items. So I want to group by maybe the different groups and show the colors depending on the status. Next, I'm going to add a chart view, which allows us to represent the data from the board in customizable graphs. So for example, in our use case, we'll add a chart view to see the budget of the tasks per week. I'm just going to go ahead into my settings and actually change that x-axis and y-axis to represent those numbers. And finally, let's take a look at a form view, which is a form created from the columns in your board. Anytime someone submits the form, a new item will then be added to the board with their responses populated in the relevant columns. So if I just go ahead and create that form, you'll see that the questions are automatically populated here. And now moving forward, when you either share the form or have it submitted from this view here, all of those responses are going to go back into our main table. So just keep in mind that we have a lot of different views and you could check them all out, like I said, in our View Center, which I highly recommend that you do ahead of time. And right now, I want to briefly talk about automations. So to reduce manual work and automate repetitive actions, we offer what's called automations. So these are probably one of the most powerful features in monday.com and a personal favorite of mine. Automations and integrations allow you to automate your entire workflow using triggers, actions, and conditions. So for now, let's check out our automations and understand a bit about how they work. Automations use a predefined trigger, like a status change, to automate a predefined action, such as notifying someone. So let's check out an automation example to see how it works by looking at our templated actions right over here. So for example, let's head over to our status change category from our templates and select the automation that when a status changes to something, I want to move an item to that group. Here I'm going to click into the underlined fields to actually set up the parameters that are going to both trigger the automation and then cause the action. So I'm going to say that when the status changes to stuck, I want to move that item into our later group because that group's going to indicate us which items are actually maybe overdue or need a little bit more attention. I'm going to go ahead and create that automation and just show you what that looks like. So if we're having issues with ordering ingredients and I go ahead and change that status into stuck, it'll automatically move into the later group, which you see just happened. So keep in mind that when talking about automations, both the triggers and actions will occur within monday.com, whereas when we're talking about integrations, the trigger or action will occur in an external platform. You can see that up here and the different external platforms that we work with. Now, as you add more information to your boards, you'll want a quick way to easily find the information you're looking for. You can actually use the search bar up here to search within the board. Or you can drill down to a subset of data using the filter right up here as well and select which conditions you actually want to see. So let's say I want to see all of the different columns where a status is working on it, and specifically for maybe Rachel. Awesome. So now all of her statuses that have the status of working on it were pulled up, and I can actually save that as a new view as well, which again is going to create a tab right up here, and we could easily switch between the two. I also wanted to share that everything on the board, whether it's an item, group, or column, can be moved by drag and drop. So you could just actually rearrange the order of your board really easily. And like I said, you could also just move those groups if anything else changes. Also, should you decide that an item or a group is no longer relevant, you could actually archive or delete them by clicking into the menu next to that item or group right here, and then clicking on archive or delete. I'm going to go ahead and archive that item. So just keep in mind that when archiving an item, you could restore it indefinitely, and when deleting an item, you have 30 days to restore it from the trash. And lastly, I want to show you how you can add a dashboard to your account to build reports using data from multiple boards. So to add a dashboard, we'll just go ahead and click on the Add button up here, and then click on New Dashboard. So I'm not actually going to create a new dashboard in this case because I have one set up already right over here with multiple different boards. And in this case, I have connected my Sunrise Cafe and Orlando Bakery board to see a whole overview of those projects. In this case, I have a calendar widget and a Gantt widget displaying my data from both of the Sunrise Cafe and the Orlando Bakery board. I also want to point out that if you only want to report on data from within a single board, you can add a blank view to the board and then add widgets just like this in the multi-board dashboard to suit your reporting needs. All right, now we've seen how we can keep our boards organized, but as we start building more and more boards, we'll want to organize them within the account itself. Let's start up here with workspaces. Workspaces allow you to have different dedicated sections of your account. You can use workspaces per team, company, department, project, or client while allowing everyone to work in the same account. And once you've selected your workspace, you could actually go ahead and add folders to organize all of your different boards. And similarly, with our board structure, you could just drag and drop different boards into that folder, or maybe even folders into another folder. Keep in mind that we can also favorite a board by selecting the star icon right up here, and it'll easily be accessible from your favorite section in the Workspaces dropdown. And then to easily switch between boards, dashboards, or workspaces, you can just press Command B on your Mac or Command or Control B on a PC, and quick search will open up where you can easily search for whatever you need. And lastly, I'm excited to go ahead and show you about our My Work area, where you can actually manage everything related to you across your entire account. So you could actually see all of the different tasks across all boards listed in chronological order depending on how you've customized your settings right up here. So you can go ahead and customize whose tasks you're looking at, which boards they're coming from, the status column that you'll be using, and the date column that you'll be using to do so. And then by default, we'll have this structure showing us any of the tasks with the dates for today, this week, next week, later, or that don't have a date yet listed. And finally, before we finish up, if you click into your profile avatar, right up here, you'll be able to find the admin section, profile preferences, developer section, and so much more. So one super important piece that I want to point out to you is each user's own profile section. From here, they can easily set up some account details so that it suits them best, and one of which is our notification section, where each user can adjust how and when they'll receive notifications. So they'll be able to adjust their email notifications and Monday bell icon notifications, as well as Slack or desktop notifications if that's relevant. Additionally, if you're the admin of the account, you can click into the administration option right here from your profile avatar and easily navigate some of the important account level settings related to user management, billing details, security details, and more. So, what now? I hope you enjoyed this tour of the main features available on the Monday platform. This is definitely just the beginning though, so I highly encourage you to head to our Help Center by clicking on the question mark right up here in the top right corner to continue learning about monday.com. Here you'll have a few different options, so you can actually just use the search function to find a specific topic that you're having questions about, or you can go into our knowledge base right here where you'll find articles and tutorial videos on specific features. We have our community page where you can get inspiration and help from other Monday power users. And we have our Monday Academy where you'll find support on building out your workflows and where you can deep dive into some of our more advanced features through on-demand courses and webinars. And of course, down here, you can always contact us at support@monday.com where we're available 24/7 to answer your questions. And you can even reach out through a live chat or email or request a call if it's a billing related issue. So I hope this helps and that you guys got a good idea of how to use the basic monday.com work management product. And I hope you guys have a great day.